This is the World Satsanga on the 24th of June 2017, held in conjunction with Kevin Moore and The Moore Show. Thank you very much for the questions I've received between that Satsanga and this Satsanga. There's a lot to go through this particular Satsanga. In fact, the June Satsanga was broadcast, or due to be broadcast, on the 30th of this month and not the 24th. So I apologise for it being a week early, but basically I noticed that on that day I was supposed to be on sabbatical, and I thought the best thing to do, and then as soon as I come back from sabbatical, I've got 2 weeks, and then I'm going to China on tour. So I thought that I needed to get it done and give me time to be on sabbatical, and also give a decent length of time in between the June and the July Satsanga. So, so apologies for it being a week early, but I hope it's enjoyable nevertheless. So let me go through the agenda today. I've got a 20-minute talk on what the chakras do, but whether it'll be 20 minutes is neither here nor there. And in terms of what they're associated with within the gross physical body, and so I'll go through that in a very sort of summarised sense. And then we've got lots of questions to go through from one to probably about three different people, the participants of the Satsang, which I'm really pleased about. Thank you very much. And there's some quite deep, searching questions, both spiritually and physically, which is a good balance. So I'm pleased about that. And the next thing is the meditation, which is to connect to the gross physical to assist in healing. Now, we've done this sort of thing before, but in different ways. And so what this is basically a method of visualization that allows us to do this, and it allows us to look at various different aspects of the body by going deep within. So this is something that I was taught a long time ago, but nevertheless knew about anyway when I did the energy healing training as a student of a first generation student of Barbara Brennan. So this is quite a very powerful method of healing. And it includes something called samskara, which is a derivative created by one of the, shall we say, few geniuses that came out of Barbara's school, because the one guy ended up being almost like a head or a lead teacher within Barbara's one of Barbara's cohorts, and managed to be able to create their own version of healing as well at the same time. Okay, so we'll just go through the reasons for what the chakras do. Well, the chakras are, if you like, they're the glue that holds everything together. They're attached to an energy system that pervades the human form, not just at the gross physical, but also the spiritual physical, which is the frequencies above the gross physical. Going back to the basics, there's 7 frequencies that are understood by spiritualists. The first 3 are gross physical, and the next 4 are spiritual physical. And then there's 3 more, which I discovered quite some time ago, which are a step down function, and that allows the soul, the aspect of the true entity itself, to come down through like a funnel type of function through the horror line into this vehicle that we've got that we call the human body. And basically these things are part of this network system that are, for want of a better word, almost like a venous system, like the veins and the arteries around the body, that transmits blood around to help oxygenate and remove carbon dioxide from the body and other waste systems. The chakras sort of do a similar thing, but moreover they act as a pulling in of energy system. Now, the chakras that we tend to look at are the first chakra, which is the basal root chakra, which has its origin where the 2 legs meet the lower body, typically where the groin is. The next 5 chakras have a front and rear aspect. The sacral chakra is 7.5 centimeters or 3 inches below the navel. That's the belly button, and they are horizontal, whereas the root chakra is a vertically opposed chakra. And then there's a rear version of that, which is in the same height from the belly button, but pointing out towards the back of the body, around the spine area. So there's 2 chakras for the second or sacral chakra, third, which is the solar, fourth, which is the heart, fifth, which is the throat, sixth, which is the spiritual third eye, and the seventh, which is the so the seventh is on its own again, which is vertically opposed, going up towards the ceiling. So we have, getting back to the sacral chakra, 7.5 centimeters or 3 inches below the navel. The solar chakra has its point of origin, which is 7.5 centimeters or 3 inches above the navel. The heart chakras are positioned in the center of the front of the chest, in the middle of the sternum. Okay, so that's roughly where they are. And the throat chakra is at the center of the front of the chest. The center of the front of the neck, not the chest. And so we've got the heart is the center of the front of the chest in the sternum, and the throat chakra at the center of the front of the neck. Okay, right about where the Adam's apple is. Okay. And then the spiritual third eye is located very close to where the third eye is, which is sort of in between the 2 eyebrows and above the bridge of the nose, which is almost the centre of the front of the forehead. And then we've got the crown chakra, which comes up from the centre of the crown, the top of the head, up towards the ceiling. So the crown chakra and the base chakra are the only chakras where there's a single chakra from the genre of major chakras, and the sacral, solar, heart, throat, and spiritual or third eye chakras have 2. Now, the reason why we have 2 is because there's a psycho-spiritual function associated with those 5 chakras. The first chakras, the first set of chakras at the front, basically, this is from the second to the sixth, by the way, basically are there to create our intention. The chakras behind, from the second to the sixth, basically are the action. So whatever we do psycho-spiritually is sort of generated at the front side of the chakras, and then it's action at the rear side of the chakras. Okay. So these are the main chakras that we talk about a lot. There's other chakras, minor chakras, which are positioned around the body in various different areas. Not in a very logical area, you would think, but they are. They move them. There's quite a lot around the chest area, and there's others around the palms of the hands and various different other joint areas associated with the human form. And in essence, we do tend to use the palm chakras quite a lot. They're minor chakras for healing and other functions that we can use them for telekinesis. Mostly people use them for manipulating the auric layers and assisting with telekinesis. And then we've got mini chakras, which are again dotted around all over the body. Some of these mini chakras are areas where there's acupuncture achieved, although acupuncture or acupressure can be any of the meridian lines, which are, the meridian lines are these lines of energy that go in between the chakras, the sort of venous system, the energetic venous system. But looking at it particularly from our perspective, these chakras, specifically the large ones, the root, sacral, solar, heart, throat, spiritual third eye, and the crown chakras, they are associated mostly with pulling energy in. Without these chakras here, the human form doesn't function very well at all. It tends to struggle quite a lot, actually, and the condition of these chakras is always something which is observed by energy healers to make sure that they're in good condition, or if they need help or healing, that those can be done. Within the work I do, it has been quite common for me to re-inflate them so that they become the right size and shape, to change out or replace various smaller vortices within these chakras, because these vortices deal with the sub-frequencies associated with the chakras, and also replace the outer covering as well. A lot of times chakras seem to be overprotected with people because they're protecting their energies, but also there's a lot of times when these chakras are burnt out because they've been overused, for instance, as a result of whatever work the incarnate being or entity has been working with them. So it's in general, as I was going to say, there's a difference between a being and an entity. An entity is if you like, an area of or a volume of sentience that is assigned a body of energy. So that's created by something, such as we creating our shards, or our source creating our true energy itself, or the origin creating the source. Those are created. Those are sentient things, if you want to call them that, that are created. A being is another big thing, so to speak, that's got an equal amount of sentience, nevertheless, but that's as a result of standard evolution, where energies get together, they're attracted to each other, they create minor intelligence over a period of time. They seek out other energies of similar sorts and club together to create a bigger area of energy. And eventually they get into being conscious, self-aware, creative, and eventually sentient. If you look at some of the pages in the Origin Speaks, it describes the road to sentience from the perspective of the evolving energy, as it were, rather than being created. Now, the origin is evolving energy, so the origin is a being, whereas everything that's been created by the origin, by the source, by Trinity itself, by ourselves, is an entity. So, an entity is created. A being is a subject to evolution. Okay, but getting back down to these chakras, they're there to support every part of the human form. They're there to support everything that is gross physical and spiritual physical. Now, in popular texts, the fourth level, the heart, the frequencies associated with the heart chakra are, for want of a better word, classified as just being the astral, and that's it, the melting pot between the gross physical and the spiritual. And my understanding is that it's the heart chakra, the throat chakra, the spiritual third eye chakra, and the crown chakra, and the energetic templates associated with them, because they're assigned to each different template, create the astral levels. So the lowest of the astral levels is the heart chakra. That's the lower astral. The upper lower astral is from the fifth level, or the throat chakra. The lower upper astral is from the sixth level, which is the spiritual or third eye, and the upper astral is associated with the crown chakra. Okay, but so they're there basically to pull energy in and distribute that energy on each of the different levels that they're associated with. With my work in terms of traversing the frequencies, the first 12 frequencies are associated with the gross physical universe, and clearly there's levels above what we can see, touch and feel and taste as being gross physical still, or the physical universe is probably a better way of saying it. The gross physical side of it is the lowest frequencies, but nevertheless, because we have to incarnate into the physical universe from every particular frequency that's there, whether we incarnate in a 12th frequency body, is still classified as physical, and arguably it could be classified as loosely gross, but because it needs an incarnated vehicle of some sort to work with it. So all of these different vehicles will have to have a chakra system of some sort to allow it to function, because they don't just survive on food, for instance, what we call physical food, such as milk and cheese and eggs and meat and various different plants, and vegetables and fruits. Those are something which we've had to, for want of a better word, evolve to use as the gross physical body or the aspects of the human form that is gross physical has slipped down the frequencies. But in essence, if we know how to work with the chakras, we can pull in enough energy of the right sort on a regular basis that allows all aspects of the human form to exist consistently without the need for any gross physical food at all. But that takes quite a lot of training, a lot of understanding, and there are some yogis within the sort of Indian continent that are able to understand how to do this, but they're very, very far and few between right now. So the chakras are there to pull energy in. They help to maintain the construct of what the human form is. It allows the 7 energetic templates to maintain their form, and without those energetic templates, the gross physical doesn't exist or doesn't work. And so, in effect, for each chakra, there is an energetic template associated with it. So the chakra helps to assist that energetic template continue to be in existence, so to speak. And so each of them has an associated template. So the root chakra has the first template, which is the etheric body, for instance. The second chakra, the sacral, has the mental body, for instance. And then you go up the different chakras, and each of them's got something. Some of the different templates are associated with them. In one of the last Satsangas, there was a PDF file associated with it that gave you the name for those different templates. Now, something that's a little bit confusing is that some people, and I've done it as well myself, so it's perfectly understandable. Some people confuse the energetic templates and the name for the templates with the different different levels or layers of the aura, or the human energy field, for instance, because there's a radiation effect associated with each of the chakras and each of the energetic templates. And so, as we got one chakra, for instance, the base or root chakra, associated with the etheric, there's also an associated level of radiation that creates the first layer of the human energy field as well. And so for the second chakra, the sacral chakra, there's another template there, okay, mental body, and then there's again another level or layer of energy that is effectively irradiated from the body. So we have 7 sets of chakras, 7 sets of energy templates, and 7 levels of radiation emanating from the human body. And so the radiation is almost like a byproduct, if you want to call it that. But it can be used for the generation of psychic shields, for instance. So you can reinforce your aura to help you to be more protected. But the aura also creates a level of protection in its own right anyway, as a result of the work and the function of the chakras. So the chakras don't just work with the gross physical form or the spiritual physical aspect of the form. They also create like a barrier, so to speak, an energetic barrier around us that we either use for protection or we use for communicative purposes. I mean, if you think about when you get close to somebody, if you like that person, you're allowed to get closer to them. If you love a person, you're allowed to get really close to them. If you don't like somebody, you'll find that it's very difficult to get close to them, and you'll find that you'll feel like they're invading your space. So the chakras pull energy in, maintain the templates that allow the gross physical, as we understand it, that part of us that we use to experience the lowest frequencies within the multiverse in the way they're supposed to be experienced, and they keep it working. The other thing to notice is that we can manipulate the work that the chakras do. So we can extend them and rotate them to pull more energy in. That helps us to become higher frequency. But also on the other side, we can extend and rotate them in the opposite direction. So if we extend and rotate them clockwise, we pull energy in. If we extend and rotate them anti-clockwise, we push energy out. And so sometimes the extending of the chakras and the rotating them anti-clockwise and asking them to be directed towards a certain individual or a certain individual's chakras can be used for healing purposes as well. Okay, so the chakras are basically a generator. In electrical terms, you can think of them as an alternator or a dynamo, but they work in different ways. Whereas alternators and dynamos rely on certain materials to be rotated around each other, the chakras pull in energy because they've got little vortices that pull in energy and allow that energy to be used by the human form. Okay, so a little bit sort of summarised and a bit sort of high level, but nevertheless, this is what the chakras do for us. They help maintain the structure that allows the human form to exist. Without the chakras there, the structure doesn't exist. The templates don't exist. And without the templates, what we work with as our gross physical human form and the spiritual physical aspects of that don't exist either. So they are very, very important in terms of ensuring that the vehicle that we use to experience low frequency existence is maintained. It won't be maintained with just gross physical food, such as fruit or vegetables. It needs to have these other energies available to it to maintain the structure of the other templates that make sure that the gross physical maintains its existence. Okay, so we've got a lot of questions to go through now, and I'm a bit aware that we're also moving through the time for the Satsanga rather quickly, but we should be okay. Okay, so let's look at the questions. First one. Question one: If the embryo fetus, and this is based upon some of the previous questions we had with the mechanics of incarnation. Okay. Question one: If the embryo or fetus is a matter-based vehicle made of anu particles, well, the anu is the basic building block of what we call the gross physical, and it's about 6 levels below the atom. Okay, round about that. Is the body structure created by only the mother in utero, or is there a combined effect of mother and soul creating it during gestation? After the soul starts to integrate with the vehicle gradually, who creates the body during gestation? There's 2 things happens here. One is if you like, the animal-based creation of a form, and one is the energetic-based creation of that form. And so we have the mother through the partnership with the husband or the father, getting together to create the possibility for a smaller form to be created. But the energies associated with that need to be supported by the soul, or the aspects of the true energetic self, and the guide and helpers to ensure that when the embryo is growing, that it grows from the very, very basic point of the inclusion of a basic energy system and a basic set of chakras. And so we have 2 things happening here. We have the basic growing of something, a fetus, and we have the energy system associated with that, which is associated with it. And the guide and helpers and the soul create this and align it to that fetus right at the very start. Concepts, right at the conception. There's the energies there, because without that it doesn't work. It won't grow, and it'll just die early, so to speak. What we call almost like an aborted birth, or those sorts of things. So when the fetus doesn't grow, or it miscarriages, it's usually because the energy associated with it that the soul would use either hasn't been placed there or has been removed, so that particular fetus can't possibly grow into a usable vehicle for experiencing, learning, and evolving in this particular low-frequency environment. The second question is: Does the soul create the vehicle as a construct of anu particles, or just as a projection of light from thoughts? The ninth frequency band Palladians said, channeled by Wendy Kennedy, as a 3-dimensional being. Well, we're not 3-dimensional in this particular instance, we're three frequential. Okay, the third dimension is a much bigger, much higher structure within the multiversal environment. So this is something which is I'm going to start. I probably need to go over this again in another Satsanga, so to help people understand the difference between what spiritual people call the third dimension and what we actually exist within, because we're getting confused with things that are, in my mind, not correctly broadcast. But well, let's use what's there for the moment. As a three frequential being, in order to experience physical reality, you focus your energy as soul. You intensify the beam of light, if you will, your consciousness so densely that it creates the dense physical matter. You create the body for yourself. And the question is that how it works? It's the missing piece from my understanding of the mechanical incarnation. Basically, what's been described there by Wendy Kennedy is, in a very sort of summarised way, is the energy that's associated to the fetus. As I said in the start, basically the two things happen. The fetus grows within the mother as a function of the mother and father getting together and allowing that energy to be available. And it grows, but right at the same time, the soul creates and inserts the energy system associated with it, together with the guides and helpers. So what I'm seeing here is that the work of Wendy Kennedy is not quite accurate, but it's close enough. But it only deals with one thing. And maybe the words are not quite understandable from the greater reality, but basically, we do create the body, but we create the energy system associated with the body. So the way she said there, you create the body for yourself, is sort of right and is sort of wrong, because we don't create the body. The gross physical body is created for us as a result of the work that the chosen mother and father do through procreation. But we, through the use of our guide and helpers and ourselves, insert this energy system with the chakras and minor, mini and major chakras and the energetic network within that body, and so therefore without that happening, the fetus wouldn't grow. And so it's sort of right, but it's not quite deep enough in terms of understanding to say it's right. But it only goes in very minor details, such as you intensify the beam of light, which is your focus of your energy as a soul, if you will, and your consciousness so dense that it creates the dense physical matter. We don't create dense physical matter; it's too difficult for us. We assist in the animation of the dense physical matter. So we create the interface, if you like, between the dense physical matter and the soul, so that the soul can in fact interface with it. So that's what we do. We create the interface. If you want to think of it in terms of creating the body, you can do, but it's a bit confusing. It's not actually correct. We create the interface that allows the soul to be inserted and connected to the gross physical. And the gross physical can't exist without that interface. So there's the two things together. Also, there's another question here about the mechanics of incarnation of newer children and autistic children. The function is the same, in effect, but the energies associated with the energy system, the chakras and the energetic templates, exactly, for instance, are constructed from different energies, not just the basic energy that's used to allow the interface between the gross physical and the soul, i.e. the energy system, the chakras, etc., and the different energy templates. And so what we have here is just a different set of energies. So we get the indigo, the crystal, and the rainbow children, and I'm going to put the autistic children to one side at the moment because they're something different. They have certain abilities as a result of the the way in which the interface, an energy system that connects that allows the soul to interface with or integrate with the gross physical through this interface, the energy system, to work. And so the different frequencies allow different levels of functionality, different abilities to remain higher frequency whilst being involved in lower frequency environments and around lower frequency individuals. And there's various different hybrid versions of this as well. So we don't just get indigo children or rainbow children or crystal children. We get hybrids of crystal and rainbow, crystal and indigo and rainbow, for example, or all three together. So and this makes them, if you like, a better integrated vehicle to work with, energetically and gross physically, to allow the soul to be able to work with higher frequencies whilst being lower frequencies. Autistic children are arguably of a similar type, except that they have got a better level of functionality. Now, they don't need to be a hybrid of the crystal, indigo, rainbow energies, or the energies associated with those words that we use to describe them. They can simply be entities who are incarnate, who have got a higher level of frequential connectivity with their true energetic self, and therefore the rest of Source. And so they're able to, for want of a better word, operate in some small way, in a way which is consistent with them being energetic and not, for instance, specifically gross physically, as we do with our normal incarnation. So the other part of this question is, how are the incarnate vehicles of indigo, crystal and rainbow children created? Exactly the same way. Exactly the same as I just described, basically. The energy is chosen, used and inserted into the gross physical vehicle at conception. Because I said they have a higher frequency energy set, the autistic kids have a hybrid energy set, meaning half rainbow or half crystal energy, for instance, or half of indigo. So basically, what that means is that they, as I've tried to describe it earlier, it's a different level of function, for instance. Another way of looking at it is that they only need to have five chakra sets, because they don't operate on the first three levels separately, so to speak. They would have one chakra that deals with the first three frequencies, and then they'd have the fourth, fifth, sixth and seventh chakras. So what I mean by an energy set is that it's the energies associated with how the chakras respond. Think of it in terms of a radio. You can buy one radio that works with a certain number of frequencies, but above those frequencies they don't work. So think of these children, the indigos and the crystals and the rainbows and the autistics, for instance, as having radios that work on frequencies above the standard radio we can get. Okay, so they would be working on sort of ultra high frequencies or mega high frequencies, for instance, well above the standard radio system, which means they got more connectivity. But because they're hybrids, they are able to operate in various different functions correctly. So if a hybrid's got a mixture of indigo, rainbow, and crystal energies, then they will be able to operate correctly on all those three levels. If they've only got rainbow, they can only work correctly on rainbow levels of energies and not crystal or indigo. If you've got an entity that's got crystal and indigo, they'll be able to work properly on those levels, but not specifically on the other one. So it's all about what you're able to tune into, basically. So if you've got a radio that can tune into two different channels at the same time and listen to those channels, then that is in effect what a rainbow and a crystal child would be. A child that's got a mixture of rainbow and crystal energies. One that's just got crystal would only be able to tune to one channel. one that's got crystal, rainbow and indigo would be able to tune to 3 channels. So it allows them to change the different levels of frequency and access the function, the functions, abilities associated with them. So the question, I've just answered the question in some way, shape or form here. How does an indigo energy set differ from a rainbow energy or a crystal energy set? Is one set higher frequency than the other? Basically, yes. They're different levels of frequencies. They work on different levels, and they give us access to higher levels of communicative ability with our true energetic self. Okay. What does a half hybrid energy set mean in an autistic child? Well, the difference between these children, the indigo, rainbows, and crystal children, whether they're of a singular energy set or a hybrid energy set, and the autistics, is that the autistics have got a better way of unlocking it. Most of the other children are clever, for instance, or more spiritual, more connected, but the autistics have a way of unlocking it in one particular way, for instance, but they don't understand how they do it, and so they get pulled into that particular method of communication, and they get locked into it, which makes them specialised, if you want to call it that. Whereas the rainbow, crystal, and indigo children, although they're specialised from their frequency set, they're more generalised as well. So what you can see is that the autistics and even if they're an autistic and they're a version of hybrid of indigo, crystal, or rainbow, have a, if you like, an unlocked but unadjustable method of gaining higher communicative functions, whereas the indigos, crystals, and rainbows that aren't autistic aren't specifically unlocked like the autistics, and therefore they can't get locked into what they are, but they're more generalised as a result of it. But they get little bits of functionality at those different levels, but moreover they're able to cope with the various frequential shifts that occur as they move around the planet. Are these energy sets chakra or frequency based? How do they work in terms of the soul versus the vehicle? Well, the soul is well above any frequencies associated with the physical universe, so we can put that to one side. In terms of the chakras, the energy sets are, for want of a better word, within the chakra range and above the chakra range, if that makes any sense. I've just been told that, as I've just described, where one particular child would get a single composite chakra to allow them to work on the 3 gross physical levels, and then they've got an individualised chakra for the frequencies associated with the heart, throat, spiritual third eye, and the crown. That some of these children are able to access the 8th, 9th, and 10th as well, and so arguably you've got a single chakra that works with all gross physicals, all the gross physical energy, then you've got the other chakras that work with the spiritual physical, and then you've simply got the ability to access functionality on the 8th, 9th, and 10th frequencies. There are no chakras on these levels, so it's pure connectivity, pure accessibility, rather than connectivity through pulling energy in. It's just there. Okay. And we've got one final question along this road. Would you also tell us if ancestral issues or karma from parents, grandparents, or generations before are scripted into our physical or energetic form or blueprint in some way? That's a common belief in spiritual circles. We know that we have things to work out as a function of previous incarnations, and that can be either group karma or individualized karma. So if we want to think of it in terms of ourselves working with different things we've experienced in the past from an individual perspective, then anything that can be classified as being ancestral, i.e. our previous lives, is relevant to our own karma. If, however, we've accrued group karma, and that is also from previous lives together, and maybe the group karma has been accrued with how we've worked with or interfaced with our parents, grandparents, or other generations of families, for instance, or entities, for instance. Try to forget parents, grandparents, and the previous generations. Try to think in terms of who we've interfaced with, because they might not be our parents or grandparents, but whatever they are, they might be, of course. You know, sometimes we do work with each other over various different sets of incarnations. But more and more, it's to do with understanding that we have individual karma and we have group karma, and sometimes we have to work out the group karma together. So we do get individuals who incarnate together, or within a family. If, for instance, the souls within those bodies that could be of parents, who could be of grandparents, have incarnated in those bodies, or even walked in, to allow the group karma to be worked off, so to speak, then that's the only way you will go to get anything ancestral in terms of karma. Generally, karma is individualized, and it is also groupized, so to speak. But in terms of us picking up stuff from other people that we've not interfaced with, the answer is no. So if our parents or grandparents or other ancestors from previous generations have their own karma, we wouldn't be working off their karma for them in general. Okay? We wouldn't be working off group karma for them if we've not been involved in that group karma for them in general. And so they're not scripted into our physical or entity form in any way from that perspective. This is something which is misinterpreted through humanizing things. I don't know if I explained it well enough, but basically whatever we work with is whatever we work with. The fact that they are potentially our parents or not, as the case may be, is immaterial. It's the fact that those individuals those individuals may have a karmic link with us, either from an individual position or a group position, and that's the only thing with it. We don't take on board somebody else's karma unless we want to be of service in some way, and that's a completely different thing. And it wouldn't necessarily mean that they would be our parents or grandparents. It could be associates in work or in our social lives, or anywhere else in the position of where we exist, where we incarnate. Okay. So the next question. It's on page 359 of The Origin Speaks. The Origin talks about the library of progression, and says that its main function is to store all the actions and experiences that result in steps of evolutionary progression. So there's a bunch of questions on this. What is a step of evolutionary progression? Is it something specific, something measurable? Is there an end to this stairway or process, or does it go on without end, or does it only concern the origin? The evolutionary progression sort of isn't in steps. It's a stepless function. There are things that can be classified as being that's a piece of evolution, and therefore it's something we can classify as being evolved. But that's a human thing again. For instance, if one animal changes from one form to another form, for instance, if a cat changes its physiology so it's got 5 toes, for instance, or 6 toes rather than 4 toes, that could be classified as an evolutionary step. But in actual fact, from the point of view of experiencing and learning, and therefore evolving, there is no real evolutionary step other than, for instance, a point of experience, and the learning from that experience is understood. And if it's understood instantaneously, or in one particular interaction with it, or over a couple of interactions with it, and that level of experience doesn't need to be experienced again, then arguably you could call that an evolutionary step, for instance. Now, evolution is generally something which is attributable to the origin, although it created smaller versions, source entities, to evolve on its behalf. And our source entity and other self entities as well have done similar things, have created an environment and individualised part of its own sentience and given it a body of energy to work with, to allow it to evolve in a more accelerated way by allowing small versions of itself to experience, learn and evolve. And then we do the same thing with as our true energetic self. It does the same thing by creating us as souls, and we can do the same thing with shards. And so everything evolves, and as everything evolves, everything is evolving. So it's a very clear statement, isn't it? But basically what it means is that as we evolve as smaller units of ourselves or source or origin, then everything evolves. But even though we as individualised units evolve, the end game is that the origin evolves. So we all evolve as smaller versions of, either created by origin or created by those creations of the origin, to help the origin evolve. So I hope that sort of helps there. It's really a case of, even though we're individualised and we're evolving, that evolution is also passed on to source, and it's passed on to Trinity itself, passed on to source, and passed on to the origin. Okay, and it's, as far as I'm aware, it's ongoing. It's never ending. The origin is so big, but it hasn't even mapped out its own polyomniscient sentient area of self-awareness right now. That's what the source entity is, and that's what we're doing right now. And when we've gone through this first section, so to speak, there's other sections we've got to go through to experience, learn, and evolve. So it is truly infinite as far as I'm aware. Next question: does everything we do contribute towards this progression? For instance, brushing my teeth, or is it only part of our experiences, or none? Well, everything does. So really, the second part of this question is answered by the first. Really, everything we do is to do with experiencing things, and there's also learning and evolution from that, no matter how small it is, or no matter how simple it is. Since the origin stores the actions and experiences that result in its growth, are there actions and experiences that don't result in its growth? For instance, if I drown a man, or save a man from drowning, does one experience getting stored, or do both? Does everything count? Absolutely. Everything counts. Even the decision not to do something counts towards evolution, because it's a decision process based upon a level of understanding which may have been not there previously. Okay. What does it mean that the origin is storing actions and experiences? Is it like a video copy, or is the actual action somehow stored? It's the essence of everything, from being in the gross physical from our perspective, to making the decision, to having the sensory responses, to having the thinking process behind the potential to improve it. It's the whole gamut of things associated with experiencing what we're experiencing, right down to really sort of stubbing your toe, for instance. It's that simple. Everything that's experienced goes into being recorded and is part of the overall experiential set of learning and evolution that the origin has. Once stored, does the origin ever do anything with these records, or do they just sit there, so to speak, forever? It, like us, uses them as a repository of experiences that can be drawn upon to enable similar experiences to be interacted with in a more efficient way. And so, if you like, it's a library of stuff that the source or origin has, in this instance, because the question is about the origin, that it can use to experience different things. It's us experiencing it. It's us experiencing the very minute detail of what it is. So, if it wanted to experience the minute detail of what we're experiencing, but it wanted to do it on its own, it would draw upon the experiences that have been gained through our work to help it interact with that experience in a way which is probably more effective, giving better results, for instance, or is more repeatable and robust. So everything is there, and other parts of it might want to use it as well. For instance, if another source entity wants to be able to experience a different part of the origin, and that part of the origin overlaps with something that our source entities experienced, then it may want to use some of that experience that we've given to our source, which has been passed on to origin, to be able to work with that and gain a different level of depth of experience. And so it may well take some of this information as being part of its library of experiences that can be used and drawn upon. Okay. And question 6, will we be able to review our actions and experiences at some time? Yeah, I mean, that's all part of the, provided we're not having a back-to-back incarnation, where we have an incarnation that, for want of a better word, allows the soul to go into one incarnation, the human body demises or the vehicle demises, and we come out of that and we go straight into another one. If we're linking lives together to have like a longer experience, which is linked together through different lives, then yes, we always review everything we've done, we experience everything we've done. The information in that is sort of in the AND dialogues as well, where we get an idea, and it's not a complete idea, by the way. This is just again, all the books are summaries of what we've experienced, how we've experienced it, and how we've worked with those experiences. And so we will always be able to review our actions and experiences, but generally this happens once we're back in the energetic and the gross physical body's demised, so to speak. Okay, we've got a couple of more questions here, and just making sure, yeah, got enough time. There's some questions I'm going to pass on to the next Satsanga. Okay, so the first one is, there are about 25 million poor souls trapped inside North Korea, living in subhuman conditions, and their forebearers for 7 decades now. So basically, this has been something been happening for a long, long time. We are told that each and every one of them chose to be born into that place to offset karma or some other worldly purpose. True? Question mark. If true, then what is our response? Indifference. If we did not create North Korea, nor their need to be miserable in this particular life, so we did not create North Korea, nor their need to be miserable in this particular life. Or is it? These people are all victims that should be rescued physically and or through prayer. Of course, the same thing happens in China, or happened in China a long time ago, where tens of millions were killed or starved to death. Well, basically, we have locations around the world where we choose to incarnate into because of the way that those currently incarnate souls are working whilst they're incarnate. So and the way that we work collectively together while we incarnate creates localized civilization. And depending upon how that localized civilization functions, depends upon the experience we get. And so souls do choose to go into areas of hardship to experience hardship and learn and evolve as a result of that. So from our perspective, we look at that and think, they've chosen this, we therefore let them get on with it, which is fine. But also, some of these souls do incarnate into these conditions with a view to being in a situation where sometimes they're removed from those conditions and they're given a different chance of experience or a different life. For instance, if you have a child that's been adopted because they've lost their parents or whatever, and they go to a different country, they've had to go through this experience of losing the parents and being all alone and being readopted, and they're moved somewhere else. So they've had this potential for living on the street, looking after themselves, not knowing what to do, being scared, frightened, not knowing who to trust, for instance, to being so captured, so to speak, or rounded up, and then put into an area where there's a hostel where familyless children can go to, and then eventually they might, if they're lucky, they'll be found a family to go to. that all this experience is part of what they wanted to do. And sometimes this experience includes more broadly thinking groups of individuals assisting other civilizations who are quite happy and content to let people suffer, to show them that this isn't the way that an evolved or higher frequential state of incarnation should be allowed to continue. And so we get the chance of giving them a better way of working in life. We improve their lot, for instance, by allowing them to work for themselves, but also work for themselves as a result of the ability to be moved away from the environment that they're in that's causing their suffering. And so arguably this is where we would go in and people like sort of World Vision or Save the Children or Oxfam and a whole group of other different charities move in and help people who wanted to experience these different experiences at that level, help them move out again and become better citizens who could also become more spiritual and also go back into the environments that they were in and help others at the same time. So the short answer to the question is yes, they've chosen to go into these environments. Yes, they understand what they did before they incarnated, and sometimes the part of the incarnation is to stay in these environments and experience what we would call suffering for the whole of their lifetime, however long it is. But also sometimes they position themselves into locations and families where they'll experience the hardships but also experience the good side of existence as well. So they get the yin and the yang. Okay. And the last question for this Satsanga, so I've got a couple more questions, but I've run out of time unfortunately, but I'll pass them on to July's Satsanga, is that what is behind the political psychosis sweeping the States? Well, we've got political psychosis all over the world actually, but that's another thing. Where otherwise intelligent people play the victims, surrendering their personal sovereignty, refusing to take personal responsibility for their life experience. Where the tolerant have become intolerant because their favourite politician lost the election, for instance. An example of this is 75 years ago, young men died to liberate the world from tyranny. Today, young men are offended and cannot function because somebody disagrees with them. And usually the response is anger. Basically, we've lost the ability to work together. Now, over a number of different satsangas, there's been questions about why do we have people who are involved in fires? Why do we have people act as martyrs and and go into areas of population and act as human bombs? Why do we allow dictators to rule certain countries? All these different things are there. All these different things are there to help us look at what we think isn't the right way to exist in a higher frequency way whilst incarnate. And so when we start to work on these things, we start to work together. We get people starting charities, we get people working together to raise funds, to send to areas of disaster. And so we start to work together in this way. In the Second World War and the First World War and other wars, we've all worked together. The level of camaraderie between people was incredibly strong. Everybody clubbed together, everybody helped each other out. But because we've not got this sort of worldwide issue of having to work together to sort things out, for instance with the World War, then we start to become more individualised and we start to become more, for want of a better word, selfish. And so we start to think of ourselves only and not those around us who need help, because someday we might need help ourselves. Okay? And so it's not such a psychosis in one particular country, it's a psychosis all over the world, because we're no longer working together. A more evolved civilization, incarnate civilization, always works together. The individuals work individually for the collective, for the benefit of others. They're of service. When we start to move down the frequencies, or we start to get into a position where we think we're moving up the frequencies because our ability to live is better, our living standards are better, then we start to become attracted to lower frequency thoughts, behaviours and actions. And those lower frequency thoughts, behaviours and actions lead us to become very, very individualised and stop us thinking about other people. We only think of ourselves. We want to have, good jobs, lots of money coming in, 3 or 4 cars, 3 or 4 houses, and be able to do whatever we want to, and not worry about having to work for it. And we don't want to help anybody else get that living standard either. So basically, it's to do with us having more material wealth, and that makes us individualised, because we don't need to help each other to get a good standard of living. I mean, Maslow's hierarchy of needs identifies, where we come from the basics right up to the being, for want of a better word, too buoyant with our materialism, where we start to do things because it's fashion based, because we want to do it, because we like to do it, rather than having to do it to survive. Okay, so to answer this question really shortly, it's because we've allowed that we've got a greater level of living, our living ability has improved. We've become more individualised. There's, in general, around the world, there's less conflict, so we haven't had to work on removing the conflict, and therefore we don't see this camaraderie associated with working together for the collective to help the collective survive. Okay, so when we come back to having things of distress happen, such as people walking into schools with a machine gun and killing all the children, for instance, or we have martyrs blowing themselves up in pop concerts, for instance, and killing off lots of people. The effect of that person doing that brings us all together again. And so what I'm starting to see happening is we're starting to see more and more of these things happening, because we don't have a bigger picture to work with in terms of a bigger worldwide thing to help us. We've got to work with and combat, so we can all maintain our sovereignty, so to speak, or our ability to work together. We need to have little skirmishes happening to make little localised groups of individuals, and sometimes it happens worldwide as well, that's working together to try and benefit those who've suffered. So we start to become more of service. So the whole thing is to do with a localised. Well, we've had a drop in frequency as well. So we've increased our frequency, and we're dropping in frequency again, and this is also causing us to be more selfish and more individualised, rather than becoming more of service with those around us who need help. And that sort of links in basically to the first question about all these poor souls living in subhuman conditions. And it's not just in Korea; it's in India as well, and other parts of the world. Some South American states, and in some of the continents in the Eastern European areas as well. There's lots of areas where we're not working together because we're more individualised, because our living capabilities, our materialistic expectations have got higher, and we all work towards it. So we work for ourselves rather than others, and that's it. We will move around the other side when we start to understand that individual wealth is not sustaining us all collectively, and therefore individually we'll start to work on being more of service again, and start to work individually for a collective which works for a bigger collective. And so we'll start to become more working more for each other rather than just for ourselves. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to work on the meditation to allow us to be more contact with our physical selves, and in essence work with our healing. So let's sit in our straight backed chair with our feet flat on the ground, our back straight, our hands placed palm uppermost on the upper thighs. That's the area where the legs meet the lower body, and the closed eyes focused on the origin of the third eye, which is in between the two eyebrows and above the bridge of the nose. And I want you to just look at where you are. Okay. Right now, your vision is based upon your eyes being closed. Your consciousness is focused at the front of the head, where your eyes are. Whilst you're in this level of focus, I want you to just bring your focus back a bit and feel the eyes. Just use your consciousness to observe the eyes. Observe the muscles of the eyes. Observe the connections from the eyes to the brain itself, and then the ears, the auditory canal that's attached to the eyes. Okay, you can see the pituitary and the pineal gland within the brain. You can see the brain stem going down towards the spine. If you carry on down the body, you can look at the structure of the skeleton. Just focus on the structure of the skeleton. You'll start to see the skeleton from the neck and the skull, the shoulder girdle, the upper arms, the elbows, okay, the lower arms, and all the different bones and stuff associated with the palm of the hand, the thumb and the fingers. So you can start to see this part of the skeleton, and the ribs, rib cage, spine going down behind the rib cage, but attached to it, the pelvis, the femurs, tibias, fibulas, the knees, of course, and the ankles, and again the feet, and all the toes and the toe bones associated with it. So when you're doing this, you sort of inwardly focus on what you are. You can focus on any part of your body. We just focused on the eyes and the brain, basically, and the brain stem, the pineal and pituitary gland. Then we focused on the skeleton. But while we're inside the body, and you've withdrawn your consciousness from the outside of your body, you can start to investigate the body. And so you can move down your body and further on down the throat, for instance, and you can look at all the different organs. You can look at the upper stomach, the upper area of the stomach. You can see the lungs in your body. You can see the heart in your body. You can see the kidneys and liver, pancreas, and then the prostate. Ladies, the reproductive organs, the ovaries, the uterus, the womb, etc. Kidneys. Okay. The bladder, the bowel. You can look around the body, you can see all those different things. If you want to focus on a particular area, if you want to focus on the venous system, for instance, you'll see all the veins throughout your body. If you look at the body and ask to be shown areas of concern or blockage, then ask for it to change colour. Again, with the muscles, you can ask for just to see the muscles. So you start to see all the muscles around the back, the upper arm and lower arm, front of the chest, around the lower back and the pelvic area, the upper thighs, lower legs. So you can start to ask, by using your intention, to see various aspects of your body. You can use the nervous system or the endocrine system. So you can create a layer. When we do computer-aided designs for motor cars, for instance, or other things, we create layers where we show, for instance, the motor car, we show the electrical system on one layer, and then we show the body in white or the body shell, another layer. Then we show the chassis on another layer. Then we show the powertrain on another layer. Then we show the cooling on another layer, for instance. Then the interior trim on another layer. Okay. Then the entertainment systems on another layer. And the lighting systems on another layer. And so we can do the same thing with the human form, the gross physical. You can turn on and turn off various parts of your visualization by simply saying, I want to see my nervous system. And you'll see the parts of the nervous system as to where you are now. So if you're hovering around your right hand shoulder and you say you want to see the nervous system, you'll see this nervous system as if you are looking at it from your right hand shoulder. And you can look further out, you'll see the nervous system moving across to the left hand shoulder, up towards the head, down the back, okay, down towards some of the organs, for instance, and the legs. And so you can see the nervous system. If you want to look at the heart, you can ask to be shown the heart. And the heart, or the image of the heart, will manifest in your closed eye vision, and you can see the heart operating. Now, if you know that you've got an issue with your heart, for instance, or another organ such as a kidney or a liver, then you can use this visualization process to zoom into that particular organ or body component. And if you see, as an example, that the venous system or the artery system in and around the heart is showing signs of fatty tissues blocking up the veins, the tubes that we call the veins or arteries, then just use your intention for those fatty deposits to be dissolved. Now, in the Samskara training that we did when I was doing my energy healing course all those years ago, we were told to visualize anything that allowed us to remove the ailment or repair the organ. And so, for instance, if you wanted to remove all of the fatty deposits within our veins or our arteries, and it's usually done by blasting laser light down there in the sort of traditional medicine, so to speak, or should say standard medicine, not traditional, standard medicine. And again, you can visualize that there's a laser being fired down these particular veins with all these blockages, or the potential for blockage, and that the fatty tissues are dissolved as a result of it. So the samskara is basically visualizing something, anything, that affects healing or repair work. Okay. So another way to think of it is if you think that the brain is not functioning properly and your thinking, the thought process isn't particularly sound, and it feels like you're a little bit woolly-headed or there's lots of dust in your head, then you can visualize your brain as being like a matrix of synapses, and in between these matrix of synapses there's lots of low-frequency energy or dust, for instance. And so you can visualize a vacuum cleaner and going around the brain, hoovering up all these bits of dust. And you'll find that when you've done that, you'll be able to think straight or think more coherently. Okay. So with the venous system, we'd have created a laser method of removing any fatty tissues. We've used a hoover to remove all the low frequency energy surrounding our brain so we can think straight. If, for instance, we find that one of our kidneys isn't functioning properly, just imagine it's got two connectors, okay, and in and out, and then you can just disconnect the energy associated with the kidney. Visualize the kidney as an energetic template, and you can disconnect that template from the area where the kidney is. And if you're thinking in terms of templates, you'll need to do all seven by the way. And you can simply remove all sevens one by one. And so you swap out all the energetic templates, and then you swap in new perfect templates, making sure they're brand new, and that they show the functionality of a healthy kidney in this instance. And so you reconnect each layer one by one. So you've got layers 1 to 7 in this instance, so you'd have to replace the energetic templates associated with all 7 levels. You'll find that moving level 1 is slower than level 2, and level 2 slower than level 3. When you start to remove the templates at level 4 upwards, they start to move quite quickly. That's because of the frequencies involved with them. Okay. So just use your, I wouldn't say imagination, but your intuition to work out what piece of machinery or function that you can do to effect a healing in any part of your body. Your visualization of your body is like moving through your body, moving from one point to another. You're inside your body. You're not outside your body looking at stuff. You're inside your body. So you can even move inside, for instance, this so-called misfunctional kidney and heal various different parts of it. If, for instance, you see that the 7 energetic templates associated with the kidney have got some certain damage, and that may manifest itself like a matrix that's got bits broken, you can reweave those bits of broken matrix to show that the matrix is full. Okay, so you can do all the lines coming down, all the lines going across to create the matrix, and then you go to the next level and see what damage is there, and then reweave that matrix, and then the next level and see what's there and reweave that matrix, etc., etc. It's always best to start on the first level and work up to the 7th, because the lower levels are slower to repair than the higher levels. Okay. So move around your body, allow your consciousness and your visualization to move inside the skeletal form, the endocrine system, the nervous system, the venous system, the skin system, for instance, and the various different organs, and move around them and see what you need to do to heal them or repair them. And there's no rules as to what you can use. Anything counts. It's just that when you do replace the templates, you take them away from the lowest frequency to frequency 1, then frequency 2, then frequency 3, then frequency 4, then frequency 5, then frequency 6, then frequency 7. And when you put them back again, you start from 1 again. You know, frequency 1 replaced, frequency 2 replaced, frequency 3 replaced, etc., etc., up to frequency 7. So it's a very simple technique, very powerful technique. It allows you to go inside your body. It's changing your focus within you and move around your body, looking at various bits and pieces. Pick something that you know is dysfunctional or is giving you a bit of pain. Okay? So close your eyes and then move into that area and then look at what needs to be repaired. And then ask for the right tool to repair that area. And you'll be surprised how well it works. You'll move from having, for instance, a damaged thumb to having a thumb that doesn't hurt anymore. From having aches and pains or a headache to having no aches and pains or a headache. From having a twisted ankle to having no twisted ankle. From having clogged arteries, the arteries to be unclogged. Okay. So when you're ready, you can start to come back into the area of the body that you first focused on. So bring your consciousness back into your head, and then back into that place where the closed eye vision is focusing on the origin of the third or spiritual eye, which is in between the two eyebrows and above the bridge of the nose. And you can slowly come back into the room and open your eyes and take a drink of water. Well, that's it for this particular Satsanga. Been quite a long one as it happens. We've done quite a lot as well. There's a couple of questions I'm going to pass over to the next Satsanga in June, and so I'll be sending out the information this weekend, specifically asking for questions for June Satsanga as well, July Satsanga, which will be before I go to China, because I'm due to go to China around about the 27th, so it'll be around that time, the weekend before. Okay, so God's love to you all, Source's love to you all, and thank you very much for participating and sending your questions in to this Satsanga in June. Thank you for those who participated via the recording, and I can always feel when you're working with this, it's quite an energy rush, I'll tell you. And thank you for those who sent the questions in, and thank you for those who always ask questions about the questions later and afterwards. And thank you to Kevin Moore for broadcasting it as part of his own The Moore Show website. So, God's love to you all, and look forward to working with you again in July.
Did you see the aliens in Crete?